All right, so here's the deal. If you are in project management or product development, or your company follows agile methodologies or waterfall or whatever the case might be, please don't come for me in the comment section below. In fact, if you fall into that camp, probably, you're going to want to skip this video altogether, because I'm not going to be using project management terminology to explain how to write a project plan, because this video is intended for first-time managers who've been tasked by their managers to head up a project, and they want to know a very simplified step-by-step way that they can write up that project plan. So that's who this video is intended for, okay? So just to be very clear in setting the expectations, that's what I'm going to be going over in this video. So if you, as a brand new manager, have been asked, like I said, to, head up a project and you're like, ooh, where do I start with this? Then this video is for you. Okay, so step number one when it comes to writing out this project plan of yours is to make sure that you have clarity on the outcomes. So it's critical that you actually, if you don't feel like you have this clarity around the outcomes, it's critical that you go to the person that tasks you with this and make sure that you are absolutely clear on what the desired end state is of this project. So in other words, what does success look like? You need to be absolutely clear from the very beginning before you head down any road on what it is they are looking to achieve by the end of this project. So that's step number one. Step number two is identifying your resources. So of course, when a lot of people think of resources, they think of, like budgets and software and equipment. And that's absolutely true. Like you need to actually have a good understanding of all those things, but also resources can mean people. Okay. So who are the people that should be involved in this project, whether that be, the project sponsor or the person who's championing it, whoever the project lead is, the stakeholders that are involved, or in other words, like who are the people that are affected by this project. All of that needs to be clearly, identified from the very beginning. So it's a good idea to, again, go to that person who's tasking you with this project. Most likely it's your boss. Like, let's assume that the person tasking you with this is your boss. Make sure you actually ask your boss, like, who are the people that need to be involved or be in the know when it comes to this this project. And it's really important to identify this from the very beginning, because honestly, nothing really happens in a vacuum. Let's be real, right? No project really happens in a vacuum. And oftentimes, sometimes as managers, we kind of think like, oh, I'm working on this project and this only really affects my team. But really and truly, it doesn't. I mean, have you ever been at a management meeting, for example, and some decision was made like over there that they kind of thought didn't affect anybody else, but there were like second and third order consequences that affected you that you didn't even know anything about? Yeah, that's because that manager over there decided to operate in a vacuum, thinking, yeah, this only affects me and my team, when it does slightly affect other people. So don't be like that manager. Be the person who is aware of other people around you by first asking your manager who needs to be involved. And I would even take it a step further and let the other managers on your management team just kind of know what's coming down the pipeline, and leave it to them. Leave it to them to decide how much they want to be in the know or not when it comes to, this project going along. So that's the second step, is to identify your resources, whether that be like equipment, software, budgets, and all that stuff, and as well as the people that need to be involved. All right, so now you have complete clarity on the outcomes that you're being asked to achieve, and you have a good understanding of what type of resources that you have. The third step would be to get yourself some context. Now, for me, when I was leading projects, this was probably my biggest mistake. And I say biggest mistake because, let's be real, I made plenty of mistakes, but not getting context was definitely my biggest error. And I don't want you to make the same error, so I'm calling it out to you right now. Because here's the deal. Like I mentioned before, nothing ever happens in a vacuum, and there's very little that is new under the sun. So getting some context or background behind this project is going to help you be that much more effective at doing what you're doing. Because what context does, or background, What it does is it gives you clarity, which I always preach on my channel, but it also gives you alignment. And clarity and alignment are super, super powerful. So for you, you want to be asking questions right up front, like, why am I being tasked with this? What is the importance of this project? Has anyone ever tried to execute on this before? What can we learn from past projects? These questions will give you a lot of answers as to like what's important as you move along in executing this project. You know, a great exercise or tool that you can use for this is called the 5 Whys exercise that was developed by Sakichi Toyota. I'm pretty sure I'm saying his name wrong. I'm gonna just put it somewhere around here, but basically he developed this 5 Whys as a technique for like finding out like root causes and problem analysis and all that fun jazz. And that's really helpful when it comes to figuring out context of things, is like diving deep into the 5 Whys. And I've actually put a sample example of 5 Whys here of what that would look like and how you can ask the same question in trying to gain context for your project. Step number 4 is mapping out the specifics of what needs to be done, right? So reverse engineering from the outcome that you have complete and total clarity on, the things that you need to do in incremental steps to get you to where you need to be. Now, I've talked about this on my channel before, but Trello is a great resource for this because it literally intuitively forces you to think that way by forcing you to like first, state what the objective is and then the small pieces that are attached to that objective. So I highly recommend using Trello for mapping out the specifics of what needs to be done. And I will put a link for Trello in the description box below. Step number 5 is to check your assumptions. And checking your assumptions just basically means identifying, any belief systems that you and your team might have that will literally, affect the direction or the outcome of the project. Now, the reason why checking your assumptions is so important is because these belief systems, like I said, could literally make or break the project, because the beliefs that you have might force people to work in, irrelevant ways, or cause people to not be in alignment with the project. And like we talked about earlier, clarity and alignment is extremely important to the success of your project. And so, checking your assumptions allows you to make sure that people are working on the things that are most important and that they are working in alignment. So it's always good when it comes to like checking your assumptions to make sure that you're slowing down to ask yourself really pertinent questions such as, what do we believe to be true? Or what needs to be true in order for us to succeed? Now, these 2 questions are great for opening up discussion, and I didn't come up with it. I think I read it in a book called User Story Mapping. I can't remember. I'm going to link the exact book for you in the description box below, but it is really helpful for checking those assumptions or those like underlying belief systems that often get in the way. Now, you're going to be tempted to skip this. I promise you that. You're going to just want to go straight from what to, deadlines, but I want you to stop, slow down, and actually do this work because, like I said, it can make or break your project. So slow down, make sure that you and the team are really having a good conversation first about some of the assumptions that you have so that you make sure that you're making wise decisions moving forward. So step number 6 is to assign timelines as well as milestones. Now, a lot of people will say, well, why don't I just assign these timelines and assign due dates to the milestones during the time that I'm mapping out the what? The reason I don't do it at that step is because oftentimes assumptions change things. So sometimes, you'll be mapping out specifics, and then when you check your assumptions, you realize, oh, that's, step number 2 isn't even something that needs to be in this step, in this series of steps at all. So it changes your entire plan altogether, which is why I like to assign timelines and milestones after we've checked assumptions. So either way, whether you decide to do it, during that time when you're mapping out the specifics or after the assumptions like I suggest, either way, it's just a matter of making sure that you have basically progress markers or milestones as you're getting closer and closer to your objective. And each milestone or progress marker should have a due date. And I've learned that actually specificity is key when it comes to this because oftentimes, especially when there's like some sort of update or some sort of meeting that's involved, if you don't specifically say like, we're going to have a meeting on Friday in the morning, then, Friday will come and go and nobody has had a meeting to update on the progress. So make sure that it's extremely specific. Each and every progress marker is specific. And actually that each progress marker or milestone, I should say, has a champion or someone who is in charge of making sure everyone comes together or that everybody knows what's happening at that specific point. So step number 7 is measures. And basically what this means is just, metrics to let you know whether or not you are on track or off track with your project. Now, your metrics could be quantitative or they could be qualitative, but at the end of the day, that's really up to you as the project lead, as long as it tells you something, right? Because metrics for metrics' sake mean absolutely nothing. You want to make sure that the metrics that you are using tell you a story, right? And it allows you to make an informed choice as to whether or not you need to go full throttle with what you're doing or pull back. So choose a couple of key metrics to let you know, like I said, if you're on track or off track. So number 8, or step number 8, when it comes to writing out this project plan of yours, is making sure that you review and that you update. So I think one of the reasons why I really like the Agile methodology is because it allows you to iterate. And, for those of you that are not familiar with the Agile methodology, it just basically means like doing things in small chunks and reviewing what you've done. And I'm oversimplifying it, but that's, essentially the gist of the framework is doing things iteratively. And so, one of the reasons why I've adopted this methodology in my own business is because it allows you to evaluate, and evaluation is like one of my core values in my business. And so for you, I think would be wise for you to build into your project plan time for you to review and update and to evaluate whether or not what you're moving ahead with makes sense. Because how often do we set down a road or set down a path to do something and we realize, I don't know if I should be doing this or not, or this doesn't make much sense, but sometimes we continue going down that path. It makes no sense and it's a waste of time. So what reviewing and updating does is it allows you to slow down for a small second and just, ask yourself, is this still the right way to go? Or should we be doing something differently in this project? So what I like to suggest is like, let's say you have a project that's going to be a quarter, right? So it's 3 months. What you can do apart from the milestones that you have is build in this review and update, like maybe once a month, where you just meet in a room for like 10, 15 minutes and just ask everybody, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? And what should we continue doing? And that stop, start, continue little framework will help you to just, make sure that everybody is still in alignment and that what you're doing as you move ahead on this project actually makes sense. Because let me tell you, evaluation during executing a project is extremely important. That's basically it, the 8 steps when it comes to writing a project plan in a very simplified manner. So, if you want to write your own project plan, all you have to do is go back through this video and write down each and every step and make sure that you jot down what is relevant to you in your project underneath the subheadings or steps that I mentioned in this video today. All right. So I really hope that you found this video to be helpful to you. And if you did, do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other content that I share on this platform for first-time team managers. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Do not forget to keep smiling, and I'll see you in the next one.